Can hear.
Is Jason gonna be on too?
Yeah, Jason's on.
Oh, good, there's Jason, okay.
Yes.
Okay, we are ready to go.
Got him over there? Thought it was, maybe it's moved closer.
Okay. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the prayer. Grant us, O Lord, light in our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use it in our directives for the common good. For thy honor and glory, amen.
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 Okay, call to order. Roll call, please.
Sure. Ms. Falkenberg,
Here,
Mr. Cronin,
Here.
Mrs. Morrow,
Hi, here.
Miss Saba,
Here.
Miss Sharma,
Here.
Dr. Sharma.
present.
Okay, thank you. First order of business, we're going to be swearing in our new interim chief, Chief Christopher Patty. So, stand.
Did everybody see?
Yes.
I, Christopher Patty,
I, Christopher Patty,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
the laws and the ordinances
the laws and the ordinances
of the Village of Timberlake,
of the Village of Timberlake,
and I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
the duties of interim chief
the duties of interim police chief
of the Village of Timberlake,
of the Village of Timberlake,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
through my continuous and set off.
with my continuous and set office.
Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Take one. Thank you. Okay. The reading and disposition of the minutes. We have regular council meeting minutes of 12/15 of 20. Are there any errors or corrections that we need to note? Okay, there's no errors or corrections. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Falkenberg seconds.
Great. Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
Aye.
Mrs. Morrow,
Hi.
Miss Saba,
Aye.
Miss Sharma,
Hi.
Dr. Sharma.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And we have reading and disposition of special council meeting minutes of 12/15. Do we have any errors or comments on that? Okay, do I have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
Cronin makes a motion.
I second it.
Okay, Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
Aye.
Mrs. Morrow,
Hi.
Miss Saba,
Aye.
Miss Sharma,
Hi.
Dr. Sharma.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to open the request for nomination for Council Pro Temp. Do we have any nominations?
This year, I'd like to nominate Dr. Sharma.
I would also like to nominate Vince Cronin for the good job that he has done over the past few years, and there you are.
Okay. Uh,
Do we go to a vote here then?
I guess, Jeremy, we go to vote?
Yep. Yeah, would go to a vote.
Okay, Ms. Falkenberg,
I nominate Dr. Sharma.
Mr. Cronin,
I nominate me.
okay, Mrs. Mara,
Dr. Sharma?
okay, Ms. Saba,
I nominate Vince Cronin.
okay, Ms. Sharma,
I nominate Dr. Sharma.
and Dr. Sharma.
I nominate myself.
Alrighty. So I have 2 for Mr. Cronin and remainder for Dr. Sharma.
Okay, congratulations, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Okay,
Mayor to close.
see.
You formally close the nomination?
Okay, we formally close the nomination.
That process?
Is there a process for that, or we're good?
No, just have the record reflect that the vote was 3 votes for Dr. Sharma and 2 for Vince Cronin, making Dr. Sharma the Council Pro Tempore.
Okay. All right, next we'll have the committee assignments.
Wait a second, you need to write the resolution.
Yeah, there's
Okay, sorry. Resolution 2021-01. Resolution designating and appointing Dr. Ritu Sharma as President Pro Temp of the Council of the Village of Timberlake, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Do I have a nomination?
I'll second.
Okay, I heard a nomination. I need a second.
Shannon seconds.
This
Shannon,
is to suspend
you
the
did-
rules.
Yeah. Shannon, you were the one that actually did the nomination, so someone else has to second.
I'll second it.
Falkenberg
Mr. Mara.
seconds. Okay.
Okay, great.
This is the motion to suspend the rules.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
Aye.
Mrs. Morrow,
Aye.
Ms. Saba,
Aye.
Ms. Sharma,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma.
Aye.
Okay, now do we have a motion to approve, please?
Falkenberg makes a motion.
I second the motion.
Great, Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
Aye.
Mrs. Morrow,
Aye.
Ms. Saba,
Aye.
Ms. Sharma,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, I'm going to present the council members for the committee assignments for 2021. For safety, Vince Cronin and Kim Saba and Nancy Mara will be on the committees. Recreation, Trees, and Environment will be Nancy Mara. Sherry Falkenberg and Kim Saba will be on the committee. The Finance, Ordinances, Public Records Retention will be Kim Saba. On the committee will be Shannon Sharma and Dr. Sharma. On Grants will be Dr. Sharma. On the committee will be Vince Cronin and Sherry Falkenberg. The Sanitary, Sewer, and Sewers will be Shannon Sharma. Vince Cronin and Dr. Sharma will be on the committee. Village Hall will be Sherry Falkenberg. The committee will be Nancy Mara and Shannon Sharma. And Service and Parks will be the mayor, and Nancy Mara will be the chair, and Sherry Falkenberg and Shannon Sharma will be on the committee. Do I have any questions or comments or requests? Okay. Do we need to do a motion to approve that, Jeremy?
No, we don't
Okay.
need a resolution or anything for that.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we get into legislation. Ordinance 2020-08, second reading. It was tabled on 11/17/2020. An ordinance authorizing and approving the appointment of police chief as street commissioner of the Village of Timberlake, Ohio, pursuant to the provisions of section 735.31 of the Ohio Revised Code, setting compensation of $1 per year and declaring an emergency. Any questions or comments on that?
Yeah, I have a question. Is that ordinance written the same way it was when it was passed the first time in October? Because it looks like the writing is different on it.
Yeah, it is. I didn't change nothing on it besides that title.
I'm sorry, you did what?
I only changed put street commissioner. I didn't change anything different than when you were.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for
Any other
asking.
Any other questions or? Okay, thank you. Next, resolution number 2020-29, second reading. A resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into agreement with CT Consultants to provide for professional engineering advice, consultation, assistance, and services to the village, establishing the terms and conditions of same and declaring an emergency. The contract that they had sent us, Jeremy and Jason are reviewing it. They had their comments. I sent it back to CT to do the correction. So the next council meeting on the third reading, we should have that agreement so everyone will have it.
I recommend we don't do a 3-year term.
Yes, we took that recommendation and we told them to revise it to a 1 year with a renewable option. So they are going to revise that. Thank you.
I would like to recommend that we table it for this session since we don't have the contract and we don't have time to review it ourselves.
I agree.
It's placed on second reading, so you're just discussing the topic. It doesn't need to be tabled because no one's voting on it.
You can table it if you want now, though.
Yeah, but in
Okay.
like Robert's rules, you actually don't table something that you don't discuss. So second reading in terms of Robert's rules means that you're not discussing it, so you don't have to table it.
Well, then why do we table 2020-08 at the second reading on 11/17? Is that different?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's why I looked into this. So last year when we did that in November, I actually went back and reread Robert's rules, and the stipulation is that the discussion only is had if there's going to be a vote on it. Otherwise, it's just presented as a topic and doesn't need tabling. I mean, you guys are welcome to do it, however, but if we're following Robert's rules, that's how we would do it.
Yeah, effectively it's tabled anyways because it's not on the third reading yet, so it won't be
Right, exactly.
voting on it.
Okay.
So it's just that if I write it in the minutes as a tabled topic, it's being written incorrectly, and I like to be meticulous about the way that the minutes are written. So I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
we don't call it a table.
I would recommend not tabling it, but if you get to the third reading and you don't want to vote, table it then.
Exactly. So
Okay.
Robert Rule states third reading, you're going to be voting on something, so therefore it is a tabled topic.
Okay, then I'll remove the request for the table.
Yeah.
So then if
So-
we're not ready to vote on the next meeting, we can table
Okay.
the next meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next one, ordinance 2020-09, second reading. An ordinance adopting an interim disaster recovery plan for the Village of Timberlake offices and declaring an emergency.
Has everybody read it through and have any changes?
I did and no.
Okay. Maybe you
All right.
want to read it through before next meeting, see if you have any changes or anything.
Okay. The next is Ordinance 2021-01. An ordinance amending wage and salaries for the employees of the Village of Timberlake, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. So did everyone get a chance to review it? Any questions or comments on it?
The only thing I changed at the moment is so I can pay the interim chief wages and the maintenance person wages per the budget that was passed last month. Everything else has stayed the same because we want to discuss it more at February's work session, is my understanding.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, thank you, Joanne. So do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
I
I
make a
make the motion.
Okay, I heard a motion. I heard a second. Ms.
I
Falkenberg,
second.
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Ms. Sabo,
Aye.
Ms. Sharma,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma.
Aye.
Thank you. And can we have a motion to approve, please?
Falkenberg makes a motion.
Cronin seconds.
Great. Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Ms. Sabo,
Aye.
Ms. Sharma,
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
we heard you. Sorry, she's in Florida and her signal is clearly not the best. So,
Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. We heard your aye. Everyone.
Aye. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now the mayor's report. Dear council and residences, I would like to thank each and every one of you this year that helped with all that we accomplished. We were able to secure the beach for our residents and make it available keys for the residents that wanted them. And thank you specifically to Gary Saba, who volunteered and helped me personally install it and get the project done. Thank you to the service that also helped maintain the security. I forgot to mention at the last council meeting, the beach steps have been repaired and are ready for spring. Let's hope we have a hot summer and we can use the steps safely now. We were able to get the stop signs posted, and from what I understand in the past years, it was absolutely impossible. Thank you to certain council members and service people that helped me personally install them and finally make the project a reality and make our village safer. Council was able to knock on doors and get the levy passed that failed before. Thank you to council who designed the flyer and produced it. And thank you again to the council members who rallied the troops and canvassed the neighborhoods and got it done. With the help of COVID money and certain council members' physical legwork, we were able to purchase complimentary COVID kits. Thank you, Joanne, for putting those together, and personally distribute them to each and every resident. In the hall, with our COVID money, we were able to install automatic door openers, touchless switches, and sanitizers. We did this all under the watchful eye of Ms. Clapp, our fiscal officer. Thank you again for keeping the village under budget in all facets. We were able to get a majority of the residents to clean up their properties of weeds, tall grass, hide trash cans, and comply with our boat, trailer, and RV ordinance. I'm hoping this year we can get everyone to comply and help us beautify our village. This is work in progress. And finally, we have assigned an interim police chief, as you saw earlier. He will make his introduction later in the meeting and tell you what his visions are for the village. Next, I'd like to say thank you to all departments that came in under budget. Did a phenomenal job last year. We were deficit spending for a while there, and everyone came in and we pulled in under budget. So congratulations to everyone. One thing I would like to see vision for this year, we have a split rail fence outside the village hall in parcel A. It needs badly repaired. Hopefully we can get some money in the budget this year to get that repaired or fixed, or maybe get some volunteers for that. Other than that, do want to mention also. Not yet. That's it. So right now, that's it for the report. So next would be the solicitor report. Jeremy?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. So the only thing I have in my report is not so much a report, but maybe the beginning of a conversation piece on the hiring process for the village. And the reason I bring it up, obviously, is that we've hit a few small stumbling blocks. And I am recommending that we actually have a written hiring process, which we sort of already do. So I kind of wanted to mention that there are actually 3 different things that you guys already have, an ordinance, a resolution, and a policy. And they sort of conflict with each other, don't always jive with each other. And some of it may be sections that people may be not even aware of. So that being said, I'm going to mention the 3 areas where hiring process is mentioned. And again, I'm going to recommend that we actually come up with a hiring process so everybody knows what that is, and everybody's on the same page and that it can get done efficiently. So there's, as I mentioned, there are 3 different documents that you guys have that talk about the hiring process. There's ordinance number 240.03. There's resolution 2019-62. And you also have a policy manual, which was passed by resolution in 2018, which contains a policy regarding the hiring process. And some of the areas where these differ is the ordinance, which is 240.03, and it's mentioned in a few other places. Talks about that the mayor appoints all the employees with confirmation of council, appoints the chief with advice and consent of council. And then there's policy. The policy that you passed in 2018 has a hiring section. It's section 7. If you guys want to read through that as well, which says that the mayor establishes a selection process with approval of council, also establishes a promotion process with approval of council. And then you also have resolution 2019-62, which was passed about a year after that policy was passed by resolution as well, which says that prior to, it's actually a little bit improperly written, says prior to a new employee is hired. Obviously, prior to a new employee being hired, they must be appointed and approved by council, which is also creates a little bit of confusion because hiring and appointing is really the same thing. So it's saying you have to hire somebody before you hire them. So point with all of that is those 3 things don't necessarily jive with each other, and none necessarily supersede the other because one's an ordinance, one's a resolution, and one's a policy that was passed by resolution. So my recommendation is we try to make all of those 3 jive with some sort of process so everybody knows if we need to hire somebody new, who does the interviewing, what's the interview process, does that get recommended to council, is everybody involved at the same time? Does that mean council's interviewing people, the mayor's interviewing people? So I think that needs to be all cleared up, and I am happy to help do that. My background is with most of my clients, I am an employment attorney and I'm a former HR director. So I'm happy to help in writing that process, whether or not we want to update the policy, whether or not we want to change those ordinances or resolutions. Probably doing all 3 of those would be good. But if we have a policy that, because really what you need is the ordinance and the resolution just sort of give us the rules, but we need some process to fill in those rules. How do we follow those rules? So I'm just here to make sure that we're doing it right, doing it legally, which not a huge legal issue here, more of a process efficiency, everybody be on the same page and knowing what we're doing issue. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about that? Otherwise, I'm happy to follow up with everybody after tonight and start seeing if we can work on developing that process so everybody's on the same page.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Vince.
I'm sorry. Go. You can go ahead. Go first, Joanne.
No, Vince, go ahead.
Okay. So I spoke with the mayor for quite a while today, and we had mentioned the portion of the village officer's handbook. And speaking from experience, I believe that both Dr. Sharma's, Ms. Sharma, and I are the only 4 that are bound by that village officer's handbook because that was passed on January 16 of 2018. At that point in time, the 4 of us were the only ones that were members of council. I don't believe that any new members of council has ever been, introduced to that, so to speak, nor have they had to, sign and return page 2. So I agree with you, Jeremy. I think we need to get all under the same rules. We were all issued that village employees handbook, and we had an opportunity to go through it. And I personally found a lot of issues that I wanted changed. And, you know, in his defense, former Mayor Roskis did change a lot of things. But now that we're going through the process here, there's so many issues in this village officer's handbook that don't jive with our ordinances and resolutions. And we either need to get a new village employees handbook, or we need to completely update it to make it match our resolutions and ordinances, or we all have to be on the same page. I mean, in theory, 4 of us right now on council are following this because we've signed page 2 and it's in our personnel file, and everybody else on council has not, nor has pretty much any member of the police department, even though the police department are held to different standards by their rules and regulations. But a lot of the basic things are addressed in the village employees handbook. So I would like to definitely see someone step forward and kind of look into that and see what they can do about it.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to start that process going. And actually, with Chief Tryon, we had kind of started the conversation of updating the policy manual, since obviously most of your employees are police, so most of these policies affect them the most. And I'm happy to help do an update of the handbook. That's what we do for a lot of our clients. We write their policies, write their handbooks, help them write their ordinances, all that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely happy to help with that. I would definitely need an internal contact, whether that's the new chief or maybe one person from council or something can kind of be along for the ride. But I'm happy to do that. I do think that updating the entire manual is going to take longer than we'd like to do for a hiring process to be done. So if you want, maybe it might make some sense for us to write a hiring process policy first and then do the rest of the handbook, because obviously that handbook is probably a little too big for you guys. There's just more in there probably than is necessary, and there's probably a few things that aren't there that you probably do need. So again, we're happy to help update that. I would like to get something done with the hiring process faster than it would take to do the entire manual.
Right, and I will agree. I read today resolution 2019-62, which is the one that was passed in January of 2020. And the language in there is very ambiguous, and there's some misspellings and all that. And I correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but I think if we just update that and kind of fix the language in that should supersede the village employees handbook, correct?
It does. I mean, the handbook was passed by a resolution, so it doesn't necessarily completely supersede it, but obviously, you know, since they don't necessarily jive, and I'll be honest with you, that resolution I think just doesn't say enough one way or the other. So maybe a way to do it would be if we update resolution 2019-62 and attach to that a hiring process, and then go back and do the rest of the handbook after we get that completed. Does that sound like maybe a way to go?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
Vince, can you also, about the background checks, what changed on the background checks, how now we don't get to do them anymore internally?
Yes. So the way the law changed is, and Chief Patty can confirm this, the laws changed a few years ago. Police departments used to be able to do background checks for municipal workers, service personnel, whatnot, as far as doing a driver's license check just to make sure they had a valid license, didn't have any, numerous points on their license that would affect our insurance. They were also able to do a basic criminal background investigation, make sure they're not a sexual predator, make sure they don't have domestic violence, assault, whatnot. The laws change now, and law enforcement can only do that for sworn personnel. They cannot do that for civil personnel, for civil employees such as service. So we will have to pay, or I think what we had done before was we had sent people to the county. The county is now the one that does that if we want to do a service personnel, but I still think that that's imperative that we do that with even with anybody that we want to hire on service. It's going to cost us a little bit, but I think in the long run, it's going to be well worth it. It's going to be a good fail safe for any liability for the village.
Vince, real quick, do you have a revised code number for what that changes and doing those background?
I do not, but Chief Patty may. He's the one that confirmed it with me, because when I retired in 2017, we were still doing that. And apparently it has changed since then.
Yeah, Chief Patty, if you have that, I'll if you want to shoot me an email or something, we'll research that a little bit too to see if how tight and restrictive that actually is.
And then when
I'll get a hold of that.
Okay.
And what we do at other communities is we make the prospective employee pay for the background check, and then if we hire them, we reimburse them. That tells us also how serious they are on the position.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Okay. Anything else then?
That's all the report I have tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, fiscal officer's report, please. Joanne?
Okay. Well, first off, I'm going to start off with the December 2020 fund summary report, where we ended the balances and where we're at right now. So we ended the year with $315,573.79. Of that, in the general fund, we had $171,137.66. As of tonight, we are at $72,941.73 in our general fund. It has gone down. That amount was because we did the transfers out to cover our debt, our insurance, BWC, and our contract for the fire EMS. So that's where those are. Next thing is we still had about 19,000 left in our CARES money. I want to make sure I have the correct directive from council to make sure you want me to use the remaining 19,000 towards the EMS contract. So what was council's recommendation?
I agree with that.
I do too.
I agree as well.
Okay. So that'll get us 2 months, maybe 2 months, almost 3 months taken care of. Next item is we got in from NOPEC. They have given the sponsorship, their community event sponsorship program. And again, their 2021 sponsorship award is $500. So council, you'll need to decide where you want to put what community event you want that to go towards. Here in the future, we have to have it into them no later than June 30th of 2021. So keep that on the back of your
Community-sponsored event.
community-sponsored events. I think last year you guys get it to the, I don't remember who you guys gave it to last. Was it the?
You do it through the Village Club?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was the Village Club.
Yes. I don't know if we're going to be able to, with COVID, though, the restrictions, we'll be able to have another picnic or something like that, but we'll have to probably get creative to see how we can do that.
On there. Yeah, well, at least I give you a little bit of time, but keep that on the agenda so you keep going.
The council able to chair something of that sort with that funding?
I don't know. Let's see. But I think maybe, let's see. I can reach out to her and ask her on there.
I mean, if it's something that could be a council sponsored event, I think might be, if we're able to do that.
Let me write that down so I can make sure I reach out to NOPEC. Council sponsor event. Okay. So my next questions are going forward. Before I forget, thank you for Sherry for doing all that background work for that the new pest control that you brought in.
You are welcome.
On the whole contract and everything. I appreciate that on there. So my next item is you see on there that we had some CT consultant past due invoices. So today I have received an email that they have been removed and credited, or that they've been forgiven.
We're applied toward the retainer, yes.
Right. In checking with Pete Famika, I talked to him today and asked him why they were forgiven. And they said that the mayor called and said that request that they be forgiven because he would personally have to pay for them.
Okay.
Honor. So I have some more going forward. I'll let you know that, Mayor, I have reached out to the state auditors about some of the procedures and expenditures that we have been happening lately. When I was hired, I took the responsibility to ensure taxpayers' money is being spent correctly. I am personally held for all the village money coming in and going out. So in other words, if something is found wrong and they find a findings for recovery or anything, I personally have to reimburse it and pay it back. There's been several times throughout last year that I did help you through this and stop expenditures, and you told me, I'm sorry, I wouldn't do it. Well, let's go back again earlier this month when you sent me a text. And yes, I am on another job, and I did try to get back to you as soon as possible in reference to the Spectrum contract. I sent you over and told you that you shouldn't do it, that you need to talk to council before. You sent me a text back, sorry, I messed up because he came early. And without council's approval, even though we may be less than AT&T per the village official handbook, it states on contracts, village contracts made by the village council shall be executed in the name of the village and signed by the mayor and the fiscal officer. So in other words, before we enter into contracts, council needs to approve them. Also on there, going with expenditures, it states on here too that no orders or contracts involving the expenditure of money are to be made unless there is a signed certificate of fiscal office of the fiscal officer that the amount required for the order or the contract has been lawfully appropriated and is in the treasury or in the process of collections to the credit of the appropriation fund, free from any previous encumbrances. So I take following these books very closely. So with our general fund being so low as only having 72,000 in it right now, I recommend council that we really restrict our spending going forward. I mean, we don't know, for one, what's going to happen with the new president coming in. I mean, if minimum wage goes up, we have to raise all of our minimum wages. Also, I don't know how I've seen where they're holding off the income tax or the filing of your federal taxes till February, I think, 12th. So that'll push us back on maybe collecting some of our income tax that we expect. Next thing too is, and also let me explain how the auditors actually kind of function a little bit, since we have an upcoming audit coming. One of the things is the auditors will do is they take and they review all the minutes first. Just note, they take notes of what council has approved. Then they read through all the ordinances and resolutions to see what they approved. Then they review the financials and compare them back to the minutes and the ordinances and verify. And then next thing they do, they verify the receipts with the bank statement and with the bank, and the same thing with the payments. Another thing is they will ask council, and I know some of you on council got these the last audit, but they do this every audit. The mayor, the council, myself, the solicitor will receive a questionnaire. And I don't see what the council member answers, or the mayor you send back, or the solicitor. The auditors are only ones that see anything. So they ask questions if we think there's fraud going on, misuse of funds, any of that. I don't see I wouldn't see, Mayor, what you have said to them. If you said, oh yeah, I think so-and-so spending it, then they'll really look into it. I don't see what I'm going to say. I see Vince's face up on my screen right now. So what Vince sends back, so they can, that's where they start digging in. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on with the audit. Let's see here. Next item. I think no invoices, contracts, zoning applications, zoning permits, that we have cash or checks should be sent to an employee's home. Everything should be mailed to the village hall. I'm responsible for that money on there.
I agree.
Was it? And let me clear up another situation that caused some of the issues with the hiring process and the employees. Back in October, Mayor, council members Saba and I met with you because you had some questions during that meeting. During that meeting, her and I offered to take our time and come up with job descriptions to present to council to approve with you. So we proceeded. If you didn't want us to do that, we would not have taken our time to do that. So I want you know, council know, I followed a directive. I'm required to follow the directive that council gives us on there. So right now I'm kind of like hiring these employees. They gave us a directive for me to advertise them. I haven't been able to advertise them. So I just want to let you know on that. And then also the next item is, I'm sorry I got such a long list today. Before I go much farther, I do want to touch base in reference to the auditors. One of the questions is in reference to the Ohio Revised Code. I asked them about the Ohio Revised Code. That is our base start line, is the Ohio Revised Code. And they said, the next item said, unless we're a charter, we can be a little stringent, but otherwise we follow the Ohio Revised Code, and the municipality can pass a more restrictive requirement, which would be required by council's action. If they want to make something more restricted, then, like you guys have the background checks now done in that ordinance that I know Jeremy said it isn't very well written, but that was a little more restricted than what the Ohio Revised Code is. Another thing is I looked at our web pages, our website today, and I don't know who posts the zoning fee permits, but they're very hard to read, very hard to follow.
It's kind of a mess too.
On there. So
That was taken out of our code of ordinance book, so.
It's just very hard to read. So, it's very hard to follow.
Okay.
And another thing, finally, I'm going to tell you, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. That's why I send everything out to you guys as council and mayor to look at. I'm not offended if you tell me something's wrong. I'm trying to be transparent and open to everybody. That's the reason I send out the financial reports the way I do. I try to make sure I want to be, when a resident comes and asks about an invoice or a bill or something, I want them to have it personal out there. I'm going to let you know that we probably will have one finding this year. And it will probably be again because we haven't been able to locate the 2019 ordinance resolution minute books. I mean, we kind of have it pieced together, but we probably will have a finding on that in our audit. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Okay, interim police chief report, Chief Patty.
As far as stats, I don't have stats for you as of yet. I just got a hold of them and pulling them off the computer to set them up. I got to get that for you. Outside of that, I'd like to introduce myself to everybody. I'd like to say I can't wait to meet you in person, but it's nice to e-meet you. Give you a little background about myself. I'm retired from the city of Mentor. I spent 23 years out there. I bought some military time, so I did retire with 25 in the pension. Came over here as a sergeant, and I guess unbeknownst to me, I think Steve was kind of looking at a qualified replacement. And I can remember the mayor asking me if I was excited. And in all honesty, that wasn't quite the word I had in mind. I think the word I told you was that excited is a word, but I think to better describe it, I'd say honored. So honored that Steve has the faith in me, that you have the faith in me, that council does, and that you're giving me the opportunity. Obviously, I'm new here. I've seen the way some things have run. I've talked to a lot of people that a lot of the officers that work here. And I've been out in the community meeting everybody I can outside. It's a little cold, so not everybody's out, but I stop and talk to those I can. I did get pulled over by a golden retriever, stopped me right in the middle of the road. I made sure I gave that one a dog bone. But we are having a departmental meeting for the police officers coming up on this Friday. And in that meeting, I want to talk to the officers about what I would like to see change or continue on if it's not already. And my idea is in 23 years at Mentor, I do have a world of experience in a lot of different areas, most of which I hope to never need to use here. But if that were to come up, I do have experience. My idea of policing in the village of Timberlake is I think that I think the majority of our job is community policing, community-based policing. And if you're not aware of what community-based policing is, it's getting out in the community, getting to know people in the community, getting to know your area. I want the guys out there doing their patrols. I want them actually paying attention to things while they're on patrol. As an example, I was working a shift. I was on patrol and I noticed this car in the driveway. The driver's side door was open and nobody was by it. So maybe they're unloading groceries. I don't know. But I kept driving on and went down another street and I come back and I made sure I made it back to that driveway again just to see. It was probably about 5 or so minutes later and that car is still there with the driver's side door open and nobody's there and nothing. That's something our officers need to pay attention to. So I went up the driveway and the owner came out and said, "Can I help you?" And I explained it to him. I said, "It's a little odd. I want to make sure everything's okay." And it kind of blew his mind. But in my mind, that's what we need to be doing out there, is paying attention to what's going on. The other thing I would like to ask is, I would like to ask you to stop some of the officers. Just talk to them. Introduce yourselves. Get to know them a little bit. They get to know you a little bit. If there's an issue or a call, now you actually know who you're dealing with or who you're speaking to. That's something else I would like to see. Some things I want to work on, some things I want to continue. But first and foremost, I believe in being transparent. If somebody has a question, please bring it up to me, let me know. If I can answer it, I will. If I don't have the answer, I'll find it for you. I will not make up an answer. So if I don't know, I will tell you I don't know, but I will find an answer for you. So other than that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir. I'm
Good.
sorry, does anybody have any questions?
Chief,
For
did
me?
you have a few appointments for tonight?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a few appointments for tonight? Person,
I do. It's coming down a little bit.
yeah, okay. Just making sure.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for the chief?
We're just super excited to work with you. I'll send my email on the chat for the Zoom. That way you have it if you'd ever, if you don't have the stats or the data, you can always email it to me and I can put it into the minutes before I send it out. So whatever's easy for you, but we're all really excited to work with you.
I believe in complete honesty and transparency. I don't have the stats for you right now because I don't know how to go to the MDT and pull it down yet, but I will learn and make sure I can get that. So likewise, I'm excited to work with everyone here too. So thank you.
Thank you for your honesty. It's no problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, the council members' reports. Start with Kim Sabo, please.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. Yeah, I got a couple things. I'm a little concerned with the comment that Joanne made about CT consultants. And I was glad to hear that we are talking about only going into a year's contract with that. But, we all saw the bills come across our emails. So that's why I'm a little kind of confused by what was going on there. So I think with that being said, it looks like if they were part of their consulting fees, I think that we need a little more granular transparency with CT consultants to see what they're actually charging us for, when, where, why. because honestly, I have no clue what they're doing or what's going on with it. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that new coming year. I'd also just have a little bit better communication when it comes to it instead of just dropping emails out there, maybe a little better explanation. I do have a couple of concerns about the stop sign on the triangle on Owassa and Shawandasi. So in all fairness, it's right in front of me, it's at 53. There's a post out there, it's really short, there's no sign on it, but the people that back out of the driveway there, because the streets aren't wide enough, it literally is kind of questionable. So I don't know about it being moved or what. I know it's on that little triangle, but it is at the very end of their driveway. So if there would ever be ice or anything like that, I think we could be looking into a little bit of a problem, somebody sliding into that stop sign post. So that, like I said, I know, some people called about it. And so I went over and I backed in and out of the driveway a few times, and it's definitely there. So you might want to see about what we can do to reposition that stop sign if possible. I want to bring that up. So let's see what else. So as for the email, Mayor, I sent you a message in regarding wanting to look at those zoning fees and possibly go over those, and then they just appeared on the website. So, I mean, they are really hard to read. I tried to make heads or tails of them. I think that some of those definitely need to be gone over, and some of the fees that were being charged, we should reconsider. I'd like to get, the first of the year committee meeting and see if we can't go over some of those fees and get them readjusted. That might be better in line with what we do for the village and how our residents are being charged. So we can look into that. But again, in the interim of that, either we need to revise it or we need to remove it. It is a bit of a mess. And
Yes,
what's that?
I agree. Yes, we definitely, there's some in there that we don't have, and they need to be revised.
Well, and there's a couple of them. Yeah, we do. Because again, we're charging for things that other villages that I contacted in the area that actually, if they're certified or registered with the county, they don't charge the contractor fees, or they don't charge as much. Let's put it that way. So I think there's just some things that, again, these are with COVID and people off work. We don't want people not being able to do their projects and better their homes, their yards, or, our village in general. If the things become so expensive that they can't, the permit fees could be what is the difference being able to do a project and not doing a project. So I really would like everyone's input. If they could even take a look at those, as bad as they are to look at on the website, if we could, take a look and see what you think, and, really would like to try to get those revised for us, because spring's coming and people are going to want to do those projects. And I was glad to hear that you're talking about moving forward with these ordinances. And I guess the next question is, are we going to be posting the job descriptions for those two positions on the website so that we can run them in the paper? Because I haven't seen anything on the agenda regarding that.
Yes, if we can, I need just council approval to change the dates. That's all. We just have to revise the dates, the opening and closing dates, and then I'll post that on the website. And then who is going to be taking applications for that? Would that be me, or would that be someone on council taking applications? Because the way our resolution is now, it says that all employees must be appointed and approved by council. So I guess, are we going to clarify that now so that we can decide who's going to do that?
The Jeremy question, like how does the procedure go?
That's exactly what I was talking about in my report. There isn't one. So that's exactly what I was meaning. That's what we need to figure out. Now, the other ordinance and the policy says that the mayor does all the appointing basically, and council, just approves them. That resolution though says that council has to hire him before the mayor can hire him. So that's why it's kind of confusing that those two things together don't make sense. And like I said, the way it's written, council has to hire him before you hire him. And I don't think that was the intent of the writing. But if we follow the other policy in the ordinance, it's the mayor comes up with the process, does the interview process, hires somebody, then council approves them. But that's not what that resolution says. So that's where the confusion is. So I think that's why we need to straighten it out. I'm not opposed to us figuring out what that would be right now for the interim. But I would say by next meeting might be a good idea for us to have at least a draft of a process. But so I think that's maybe the mayor's question is how should we handle that? If we're going to post it, have resumes come in, do we want to follow the resolution or the ordinance and the policy and just have the mayor do all the interviews and just present somebody to you to approve? Or does council want to do the interviews and decide on somebody? I will say in my experience, the vast majority of my clients, the mayor and department heads do the interviewing and hiring. And actually with most of my clients, council doesn't even approve every hire. They just approve some of the department heads. But in this case, they would approve it. But I would say the normal order of operations would be resumes come in to the mayor interviews, mayor picks somebody to hire, presents it to council to be approved. And until at least next month, when we get a actual full process into place, if that's workable, I think that makes the most sense to start with. We post it, we get resumes, they go to the mayor interviews, the mayor picks somebody, presents it to council to be approved for hire.
I think a council person that's on the committee should be like, if there's a council on the safety committee should sit on it with it.
I agree.
Yeah.
At least one council member.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think that's a terrible idea. My worry with it saying that council was doing the hiring is that you got 6 people that got to interview, and how are you going to do that? That you're going to have to wait a month every time to hire anybody. I wouldn't be opposed to one person from a committee just sitting in, so that. But then I would still say then it's probably still the mayor who makes the decision, presented to council. Council votes to approve.
So Mayor, are you okay with getting all those emails? I mean, again, you may get one, you may not get none, you may get 10.
Well, like I said, we need clarification, but I'll go whatever direction council wants me to go in. So you guys decide what you want me to do.
Well, I think, honestly, Mayor, I think we want you to follow the rules that were passed in October, right? It's supposed to be posted and we have to put it in the paper. And then once we get the applications in, you can decide what top 2 or 3 people that you think would be the best qualified candidates for the position. And we can discuss it and come up with something at that point in time. And once we do that, we can pick one and we can send that person for a background check that we're going to have to pay for. And we can go with it from there.
Yeah, and I just to put my 2 cents in on that, I like the idea of having the mayor interview. I think it would be a more efficient process if he was just presenting one person to you guys to vote for. Otherwise, you're really going to have to interview all 3 people. And I think a committee person is not a bad idea, though. If this is service employees, have one person from the service committee on there with you. You do the interview, you make the choice, present one person to council to vote on and approve, as opposed to 3. I think 3 takes us back down that path of not really knowing what the process is. And that's, I think, especially for hiring a service employee, I think if we were hiring a city manager or something, having everybody interview makes more sense. Hiring a service employee, I think the mayor with one committee person can interview and make a decision on one, present that to council. And if they approve it, we do the background check and get them rolling. Does that make sense?
Another question regarding that to employees. If we wanted to hire a subcontractor for the village as an employee, that's not something that council would actually have to vote on, but the mayor could do on his own. Yes or no, or just present it?
You're talking about somebody who is currently an independent contractor?
Yes.
And then we were hiring him as an employee?
We would hire him as a subcontractor as needed for extra work, whatever.
So he still would be a subcontractor?
Correct.
I would recommend if we're doing a subcontractor that we actually have a written contract with that subcontractor and have that contract approved by council.
Okay.
Similar to how you would do with me or CT Consultants or whatever.
They also have to provide a certificate of insurance and workers' compensation and all that.
Well, it kind of depends on what they do, and it'd be better to do that because otherwise they're still going to be covered by our workers' comp. And I will tell you, the difference between an independent contractor and employee is a very gray area. Depends on how you actually treat that person, regardless of what you call them. But having a written contract would help make them an independent contractor. And there are reasons to have somebody be an independent contractor instead of employee. You have to give them a little bit more freedom, but you also have a little bit less liability. You don't pay payroll taxes, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it would be better if we're talking about them having a certificate of insurance and stuff like that, it's usually you're hiring a company to contract something. If you're just hiring one individual to do it, yes, it would be better if they had their own workers' comp insurance and liability insurance. If they don't, they would fall under ours. Pretty much would kind of turn them into an employee anyway. But if we're going to do somebody as an independent contractor, I would like to be part of that conversation and make sure we're doing that the right way, because it can be done the right way. And we do a lot of independent contractor versus employee stuff for our clients. So we're pretty well versed in doing that. So I could definitely help write that up and make sure we're doing it the right way. Because otherwise we may end up saying that it makes more sense just to make that person an employee, particularly because an employee, you have more control over what they're doing on a day-to-day basis versus an independent contractor who you kind of have to leave them to their own schedules and that kind of stuff. But there's a lot more to it than we need to discuss tonight, but I'll follow up on that conversation and see what we want to do.
Thanks.
So in reference to the job postings, Mayor, how quickly can you have it on the website?
As soon as you can give me a revised description, I'll get it on there. So
Okay.
by tomorrow.
I thought we already had the revised ones, but I'll look and see. You just need the revised dates. Was that it?
Just the dates. Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm sorry. Just the revised dates. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if that's the case, then I can get it in the newspaper on Sunday, the 24th. And what do you want to turn? Well, we'll put on the date. What date do you want to turn into you by? February 1st?
Yeah, that'll work.
Does that give you enough time to interview for the 16th meeting?
Oh yeah. That'll give me. Well, yeah. You know what? Let's see. Just give me 2 weeks. What's 2 weeks from now?
So let's see, if it goes in on the 24th, that gives them the whole week to get it to you. So it's here to you by February 1st, and you can look them over. Yeah, that'll be on my 2 weeks.
Okay, that's better.
See
That'll
what I'm
work.
saying? Yeah.
So
Okay.
February 3rd is the date, or is February 1st the date?
February 1st.
And what's the council date for the next council?
February 16th.
Okay.
And so I understand the other way, we're going back here, backing up. When we're going to, for instance, because I'm on the Service and Parks Committee here. So if we're looking for somebody for service, we decided, or is this up in the air, that the mayor and someone on the committee interview, and then the mayor recommends. Is that correct? Did I understand that?
That was my recommendation, yes.
To go forth doing that now?
Well, you know what? Speaking for council, I don't think so. I mean, we were given one name. There were 3 applicants. We were given one name.
Right.
Let's- You know, we should be made aware of who's at least applying for the job.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll send council all the applications I received then, a copy of them, so we'll have them.
Is that correct to do next?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, just so they're aware of them. But when you present a candidate, it'll be one candidate, but they'll have seen all the applications.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, anything else, Kim?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sherry? Report for the Village Hall?
So the Village Hall, is starting to pick up for everybody, sending in their applications. So especially in May and beyond. So that's a good thing. And I just need council approval to order multi-fold paper towels. I do not have pricing on them yet because I need to figure out what size we need before I place that order.
What's the paper towels for the multi-fold paper towels? Because we got automatic, oh, wait. I thought we got dispensers.
Yes.
No, in the bathrooms, they have the fold ones where they pop out. We didn't have to use automatically.
Okay.
They're built in, so we don't want to remove that. We'd have a hole in the wall. So
Okay.
we just want to keep those supplied, but yeah, they worked out good. All right. Anything else, Sherry?
Nope, that'll be all.
Okay, thank you. All right, next, Nancy, report on trees, please.
I had 2 trees checked out the last 2 days. I'm still getting more bids. The one tree could stay. It does look pretty bad, but it's actually a pretty healthy tree. It's a tree that's actually 3 trees grown into one tree. It just creaks really bad because all 3 large parts of the tree fan in the wind and make a lot of creaky noise. But the arborist said it's still a pretty healthy tree. But there's another one on East Shore that's got to come down. It's hollow. It is dangerous. It is a city tree. And I only had 1 bid for that so far, and I'll let you know about the other 2 bids after that. And well, later on, we're talking about the gator bag and stuff from the donation. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Otherwise, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Okay, Dr. Sharma, any updates on grants?
So Mayor and Council, I have been reviewing grant availability for 2021, and I hope to present a list to Council next time. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to add to that, there is also another NOPEC grant available for, we'd be able to use it for street lighting this time. So when I get that information, I'll forward that to council for review, but there will be a grant available so we can get all our street lights replaced also. So I'll be looking into that.
Thank you. I saw that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Okay, Shannon Sharma, do we have a report for sewers, please?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't gotten anything for today or for this year so far. So I think we're doing pretty well with sewers.
Yes, and we did real well because you came in way under budget. Thank you. So
Anytime.
all right, great. Okay, we'll go Vince Cronin for safety, please.
Well, I pretty much have nothing for safety, but I would like to thank all the members of council for the opportunity that I had in the last few years to be council president. Dr. Sharma, I wish you the best of luck, and I definitely look forward to giving you all this this data. So as of right now, all our public records requests for 2020, we've had 18 public records requests, 17 have been fulfilled. The 18th one has been mostly fulfilled. We're waiting on some other obligations from the police department. I have a couple vendors I have to switch over because of our personnel change. I've kind of updated and looked at all the bank records from Erie Bank and from Star Ohio Bank, and everything Joanne's doing is great, which we all know it is. But yeah, Dr. Sharma, I look forward to handing all this stuff off to you, and let me know when we can go to the banks and get everything signed over, and let me know when you're ready for the public records request stuff, and I'll get all that stuff to you. So it's all you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cronin.
That's right. I agree with you, Vince. We got to get her on the signers.
Yes, she's got to take over everything.
Jeremy, wasn't public record requests ever handled by the police department before? I was looking at old emails and old history. Wasn't public record requests not always with council, that the police handled them?
I would say even now, I think the police actually handle a large chunk of the actual work of putting together the public records requests. We have to have somebody who's in charge of it. It doesn't have to be anybody in particular. I know usually most of them go through the police department.
the police issues go through the police department, the other government part goes through the council.
Correct. That any public records requests that come in that are for the police department, I forward them to Sergeant Clarich, who handles that with the police department. Anything that he gets that is concerning the village or anything beyond police, he forwards to me. They get assigned numbers or tracked. We have all the logs, all the ledgers, and all the data for it to maintain for our public records.
Isn't there a time limit in the time that it must be performed?
Has to be
Reasonable
fulfilled within a
amount of time.
reasonable time.
Pardon me?
Has to be fulfilled within a reasonable amount of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So-
in the past, I remember they would take a week, even up to 2 weeks. So is there a timeline? And certainly I would like to do as soon as possible.
Excuse me.
So
A reasonable time for that depends on what the request is. Sometimes when people put in requests, they'll say, give it to me by such and such a date. That doesn't necessarily matter. Just depends on what it is and how quickly you can get the information. So I've seen public records requests take 6 months to fill.
Yep.
I've seen some of them be filled in a half hour.
Well, and for instance, Dr. Sharma, the only public records request that's open right now, without going into any detail, is a very intricate one that involves the police department as well. And it's probably going to be about 2 or 3 months before that actually gets finished. There were numerous other things on that public records request. They've already been fulfilled and it's already documented that they have been, but the one thing is left that the police department has to fulfill. And when I brought it to Jeremy's attention, he stated that, because I didn't know whether or not that person was eligible to receive that information because of the way the request came in, and he stated yes. So again, I'll go over all that with you, and I'll pass off everything I've got.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Cron.
Yeah, and just so you know, if somebody files a public records request and they think we took too long, they could always file a mandamus action, which would just be an action telling you to fill it. People aren't going to get thrown in jail for not filling it, but obviously we should fill it as quickly as we can. And then that comes up in audits too. It could be a finding in an audit particularly if we never fill one. And sometimes there may be a reason we can't fill it. So we just have to notify that person that we can't fill it and why.
Just to
Sounds good.
give you a little insight, full transparency, Sergeant Clarich is responsible for public records requests that come through the police department. But something to keep in mind is, with everybody being part-time, right now he's the only one responsible for that. So that public records request sometimes is going to have to wait until the next time he is in to work. So that will add some time as far as your response to some of these requests are taking 2 and 3 weeks to get to. Unfortunately, right now, we have to wait until he's in to work, which again is another one of the things I'm looking at. Trying to add a change that would expedite things that come into the police department a little bit more.
Okay. And that's a good idea to try to do. And just so you know too, the reasonableness of how quickly we turn those around. Part of the analysis of what's reasonable does have to do with our own resources to do that. So if somebody was to say that it was unreasonable for us to not fill it within a month, it matters that we only have one staff member who does it and they're not here all the time, they're part-time. That makes it more reasonable to take a longer period of time.
Thank you. Thank you for shedding light on that.
And the other thing is I strongly suggest everybody go and watch the webinar for the Ohio Sunshine Law. It answers a lot of these questions. So all of council is aware of it. It's 2 hours long. It's very boring, but you have to sit and listen to it because it will answer a lot of your questions.
Yes, thank you, Joanne. And yes, I'm already halfway through. And if anyone's interested, training lesson 4, 5, and 6 deal with the public records policy. So if anyone, it's all there. So
Like I said, it's boring, but
So I remember
not really.
Shannon and
Couple
I,
parts on
we
it.
had
Pretty
attended it at Lakeland many, many years back.
Mhm.
And
Oh.
I think we had handed over the certificate to the mayor too back then.
yes, and that's one of the things the auditors check. They ask to see your certificate, as what council members see, you're required to do it once in your term.
Yep.
And that's one of the very couple of things they come in and ask for is every council members attend once in their term the public records training. So, okay.
Yeah, thank you, Joanne. Okay, anything else from anyone before we get into purchases and approvals? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the December 2020 financial reports?
Falkenberg makes a motion.
I second it.
Great, Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara. Mrs. Mara,
Oh, aye.
Mrs. Saba,
Aye.
Ms. Sharma,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma, but Ms. Sharma.
Aye.
Aye.
So I'd like to put forth something here, if that's still possible. I think with the restrictions we have in our budget for right now, I think that we should definitely implement some spending limits. Any thoughts?
I agree with that.
And I'm just, saying that if we don't, we could find ourselves in some real pains. That little in our budget, it's definitely concerning.
What's $100 now? What do you want it to go down to?
Anybody have any thoughts?
What is it now?
100.
I had it at 100.
Anything over 100 needs council approval right now, so.
Well, at least emailed out to me and the finance chairperson and the council president. Yeah.
Okay.
Not all of council can respond back to their expenditure, only I can, really.
Right.
Wonder.
Okay.
But I mean, I think we just need to really keep a close eye on this for the year.
And you know what? I agree. We got a little bit of a windfall, but because we did, we don't need to be spending all this money. We were short last year. We made a little bit on our tax increase, which should cover the remainder of our spending. We have to spend within our budget. And I personally would like to see money get set aside for a rainy day. I don't want to spend everything that we're bringing in. I don't want to boost up budgets too much. I don't want to do that. We still, we're not out of the woodwork yet. Just because we passed a levy to get a little bit of an increase in taxes, we're not out of the woodwork yet. We have to still, we still have to be very frugal in our spending. We can't spend the money we got like drunken sailors. So to speak.
I was gonna say.
Well, I just want to say that I think everyone did a great job last year. We're notified that we were deficit spending and everyone did buckle down. And I got to say across the board, everyone came in way under budget. So my hat's off to everybody. Congratulations and thank you. And we're going to keep that up this year. Absolutely. So, okay. Any other questions on that? Okay. Next is,
What did you say, Kim? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Oh, I said, are we just gonna keep it the same then? But it has to be reported, so any spending whatsoever needs to go through, who'd you say, Joanne, yourself and who else?
You, because the chair of finance, I would think,
Okay,
at least that. And then we should notify all the council of what's going on, and including the mayor. Well,
and Mayor, if you have something that you're gonna do an expenditure on, if you let me know, I can go ahead from that point. I'd be happy to send out that email to all the council to save you time on that.
thank you. Okay, we'll do.
I'm sorry. So just to clarify, any expenditure, regardless of if it's less than $100, or are you discussing over $100 expenditures? I just want to make sure the minutes reflect exactly what's being said.
Because let me ask you this, Joanne, do we have a spending for the month? I mean, we could have, what if somebody, like in service, if we have, not picking on you, Mayor, But if we have service, let's say the mower breaks down and that was, $99.99, and then the truck breaks down, and then we have to have this, that, or the other, that can add up pretty quick in a month.
Right, that does. I have some emergency, I have it for fuel in there, but yeah, for equipment breakdown, we don't have that in the budget.
That's where I'm coming from, concern wise. Where are we on those types of things, especially with this older equipment and those types of things? And I know the mayor, kudos to him for doing a lot of those repairs and taking care of a lot of things over this winter that saved us a huge amount of money. So, that's truly been a blessing there. So, again, we just want to make sure that we have the funds in there.
Yeah, and I put on the budget worksheets for this year too, there's a list underneath each department of what is actually in that budget figure of what that you guys approved on council.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we all just have to be very conscious of what we're doing. We all have to watch our budget. We can't.
And I would say, what, the more transparency we have and the more we talk about it, the better off we're going to be. So, even if it's the smallest thing, if we have to spend money on it, I think at least for this year, so we can kind of get over those humps a little bit and some of those growing pains, I think the more we communicate, the better off we're going to be.
Yep.
You know what? To start 2021 off right, here's what I'll say. I was approached by Chief Patty today because our main refrigerator in the kitchen is unplugged because of issues that the mayor was telling me about. He wanted to buy a small little refrigerator to keep in the police department. You can get them for Walmart for like 40, $50. So I told him before he went ahead and did that I would talk to Joanne, but you know what? We're at the council meeting. I'll bring it up to you guys. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, because that big refrigerator was costing us lots of money with electric. I would be okay with it.
And that's one for these guys to put their drinks in, put their lunch in, whatever, when they come in.
That should save us money. So I would be okay with allowing the $45 for that.
And you know what? I'll pass it along to everybody else on council. There you go.
Question,
Go ahead.
can we sell that commercial refrigerator and replace it with just a regular refrigerator? We don't need anything that big.
Well, yes and no. If we did, what would happen if someone has an event and they have a lot of food they want to bring in, if they're having it catered or something, they kind of need it. I'm thinking at this point, if the police department had their own little refrigerator, basically we can unplug it whenever it's not in use, and a day or two before an event, we can plug it in if the person needs it. And we'd save a ton of money on electricity, and plus we'd save the instead of having to buy another one, because again, we'd have all that room. But the reason why right now that it was running all the time, 24/7, is because the seals on the doors are bad. So I do need to order seals for that. They're, I think, $50 a piece. So it'd be like $100 for both seals. So I might as well ask you guys now if I can have approval to order seals for that door and get them on there. I can put them on myself, so we won't have to pay anyone to do it, but at least that'll keep it sealed so that when we do plug it in, I'll be running 24/7.
Isn't it detrimental to refrigerator? Just unplug it and plug it in and unplug it and plug it in?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm glad it's not my refrigerator.
Okay. So
I think the mayor can go ahead. Do you know the price on the seals, Mayor?
I'm guessing they're around $50. I just want to make sure I get the right seals though. That's why I have to measure exactly what we have here. I found some online, some were replacements, and then I'm doing reviews on them and they say the replacements don't seal right. So I'm gonna have to get some good seals for it. And again, I'm gonna have to do more research. So when I do, I'll send an email out to everyone and let them know.
Perfect.
That
That's
point.
fine. Yeah, then we can go ahead and prove it then. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's no rush because I don't believe we have anyone coming in here for another month or two, I believe. So. Oh, sure, go ahead.
Since you brought up mine, Vince, just so you guys know, on day shift and afternoons, when guys want to do lunch or something like that or eat lunch, there are places open for them available. To keep drinks cold, that's nice. But in all honesty, the reason I want that small refrigerator is my guys work in midnight shift. They've come to depend on the large refrigerator, and they brought their lunch in and they have no way to keep it from going bad by the time they eat it. The small fridge for the police department, the idea behind that is if guys are coming in with their lunch, they can put it in the refrigerator and keep it from spoiling by the time they eat their lunch. And that's really the reason why I was asking Vince and the mayor about the refrigerator. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Chief, I actually have one if you want to borrow it until you can get yours up and going. You're welcome to stop by and pick it up.
That would be fine. I will send an officer over to your house. You tell me when to pick it up.
Right now.
I do want to, I'll make sure it's all cleaned up for you. So yeah, and it's, you know, it's, yeah, you're welcome to borrow it and that'll give you time until we can get it in order for you guys. So you don't have to do without one.
Well, thank you.
And then if you guys decide that you're going to fix the large refrigerator and leave it on all the time, then that'll suffice. But if you want to save the energy and running such a big one to run a small one, then somewhere down the road, I would like to get another one, and then I will task the midnight guy who has a fresh lunch to clean that little refrigerator before we give it back to you, Mrs. Saba.
I appreciate that. No worries.
Likewise.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Any other
Right.
questions or?
So,
Okay.
you guys brought up a lot of things, and again, there was number one, there was no consensus in terms of what we're agreeing to. I didn't hear from all of council. I just want to make sure that things are being organized because, my job as your minutes person is to make sure that things are being reflected in the minutes in an organized manner. So initially there was a request that the mayor or anyone is allowed to do an expenditure of up to $100. Ms. Saba asked for us to change this request. We need to come up with a consensus. So I need to actually do a roll call and see, are we changing this? Are we not? So there needs to be an actual, if you're going to present a change, you have to present it in a fashion that the council can vote on. Otherwise, it's a discussion that is not actually, there's nothing that's being done about it, which doesn't make sense to put it into the minutes, if that makes any sense. So I just want to make sure that I'm closing the loop on that. So in terms of number one, the $100, are we reviewing all expenditure? Are we reviewing only expenditure greater than $100? Are we asking for a monthly expenditure with all of the expenditure noted? What are we doing? There needs to be a census here with council.
You know what? I'll speak up. I would like to say that nobody spends anything without at least talking to Joanne first, whether it's regardless of how much it is. For instance, this refrigerator for the police department would be less than $100, way less than $100. I'll bring it up to council. I'll let Joanne make the decision whether or not we have the money. Joanne's the one that handles the money. We'll let her handle it. I think that should go forward with every member of council. Nobody spends anything unless you talk to Joanne first. If it's under, you don't need approval from the rest of council. If it's over $100, you do.
Okay, so I have a proposal on the board that is for anything under $100, any expenditure should just go through Joanne Clapp, and anything over $100 should go through the entire council. Now I need a vote on that to see if everyone is in agreement so that I can write that into the minutes as something that's actually being done. So Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Cronin?
Aye.
Mrs. Mara?
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Saba?
Aye.
Ms. Sharma?
Aye.
Dr. Sharma?
Aye.
And Ms. Clapp, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing, so that they're aware, I may not get to you till after 3 o'clock sometimes to respond back. Just give me that time frame. I usually check the emails every day, but I don't always between 7 and 3 able to get to them.
Fair enough. Sorry about putting you on the spot.
No, that's okay.
But again, I think if you email it, to me and Joanne, like I said, it will give that transparency where I can at least forward everything to council too. So we're not having that sunshine law meeting.
Okay, so
Or
now,
if you reach out to Joanne, just, she can always forward it to me and I'll make sure the rest of council knows.
Real quick, Joanne, is there already an ordinance or a resolution with that $100 spending limit?
I think we cut it at the end of the year. I think we just made a motion by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should probably do a resolution or something on that because I think what we just agreed to was, again, a process. But we should have a resolution that reflects what that spending limit is.
Okay, Jeremy, you can write it up.
Yay.
addition to having a resolution, I think we need to have a deadline. So like, it's completely understandable, Joanne, if you're busy from 7 to 3 p.m. I think that if you guys can put into that resolution, say a deadline of 48 hours or 24 hours or whatever you deem that is, efficient, then there is some actual, back process behind it. And it's not just everything is up in the air. Because one of the things I have noticed in the email trends that I have seen or that have come across my desk is that there's a lot of disorganization. Something gets sent out, half the people respond, half the people don't. I don't respond because I'm not technically a council member. So I feel like it's just, if we're going to do something, we should put some sort of a deadline on it. I'll write it into the minutes. We'll have it in a resolution. And then that way we can all adhere to like a standard of some sort, And if you guys choose to not do it that way, which is totally your choice, then we should have another process for that so we can make sure that we're following accordingly. Because I think there's a lot of misunderstandings. And I feel like, I've been writing the minutes for years for you guys. And I've had some council members and residents in the community ask me, like, this is a little disorganized, what's going on? And I agree with them. I think in 2021, we need to work a little bit harder on making sure everyone is on the same page and organized.
I agree with that. And I think, like I said, I think we need to have a resolution that states what the limits are and then agree to the processes we just have. And also, just so you know, Sonny, probably the reason, and I agree that some of the things are disorganized, part of the reason they don't respond to the emails either is that they're not allowed because they can't deliberate by email at the public. So
yeah, and I completely understand that. But then, like one of the things, for example, is that
but Joanne could
apply. Okay. So like the mayor noted that he needs an approval for $100 to order the seals. He said he'll send an email out to council about it. So just to amend that, since it's $100 or less, he should just send the email to Joanne. And then from my understanding, Joanne is going to forward it to Ms. Seba, and then Ms. Seba is going to send it to council. If that's what I'm hearing, again, I just want to make sure that there's one channel of ways that we are doing this, and that's how we do it every single time. That way there's no cracks or, nothing is being missed or nothing is being lost.
Right. I agree. I completely agree with that. And I think the process for, obviously, if it's over $100, just has to come to a council meeting to be voted on. And then under $100, whatever process you guys want, if that's just letting Joanne know or letting Joanne and Kim know or whatever it needs to be.
Got it. So why don't you guys deliberate on that process, create a resolution so that we can pass that for this upcoming meeting? It sounds like everyone is at least in agreement that needs to happen. And then this way we can maintain some sense of organization. And then these minutes are not going to look like a complete mess.
Agreed.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Thank you.
Thanks, Sonny.
Okay. There's nothing else. The next is a motion to accept the donation of gator bags from the Eagle Scout project. Nancy, you want to explain this?
Yeah, the trees look like they're okay. The trees look like they're still surviving. I mean, it's winter time. We can't tell what's all surviving, but everything looks pretty good now. So they need and their equipment that they brought in, and they're donating the rest of the gator bags that I think Vince, you actually donated back to the tree department. And we just need a motion to accept their donation.
I make a motion.
I second it.
Okay, great. I have a motion. Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Conan?
Aye.
Mrs. Morrow?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Sharma?
Aye.
Dr. Sharma?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next is a motion to authorize the mayor and fiscal officer to enter into a contract with Spectrum. Do I have a motion authorized?
Mayor, I make a motion for you and the fiscal officer to get into the contract with Spectrum.
I second it.
Okay, Ms. Falkenberg?
Wait a second, how long is
Aye.
this contract for?
Actually, there's no contract. It's, they just say you can cancel anytime, no fee, no penalty, so.
Okay, making sure.
Nothing had to be signed, so.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, that's what was in the email too.
All right, Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Conan?
Aye.
Mrs. Morrow,
Aye.
Ms. Kleba,
Aye.
Ms. Sharma,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay, Mayor, hold on before you move forward with that. Just so everybody knows, I will call up AT&T tomorrow and I will cancel the service from AT&T. They're gonna send me a list of all the equipment that they have that we have to send back to them. But what I would also recommend, being transparent and being what we're doing now, is make sure you get with either the council president or with Joanne and make sure that they are signers and authorized users on the account as well. So you are not the only person on that account. That's the only thing I would ask.
okay, thank you. And by the way, we should be saving $150 a month by switching over to Spectrum when we have 8 times the internet speed. So just a little side note.
Nice. Mayor, before you move forward with those seals, I got a phone call from a resident, and he stated that he may have some insight on those seals. So I'll get that information to you right after the meeting or by tomorrow.
Great, perfect. Okay, moving on. A motion to appoint Sarah Bittner and Jason Mazzaro to the position of Detective Sergeant.
I make a
Falkenberg, Falkenberg seconds.
Can I have a question about that first? Am I allowed to ask a question about that first?
Yeah, this is the time for discussion. Yep.
Okay, all right. As an interim chief, so these people need to move up in rank?
So right now we have 3 sergeant positions and mine just opened up because now I'm interim chief. And Mitch Caspi had resigned, so that position's open.
He was a sergeant,
He was.
okay?
So these promotions are replacing myself and replacing Sergeant Caspi.
Okay,
The sergeants all have their areas of responsibilities, which is a reason we spoke about another sergeant. I don't know if this is the time to say anything about that. But what I'm looking for as we move forward is I'm looking to ask council to talk about creating a 4th sergeant position. The Sergeant Caspi was responsible for a number of items himself, and he was the only one that took care of those items he was responsible for. Sergeant Clarich is responsible for a number of items as well, and neither of them know what each other does. So we have one person responsible for all these things and one person responsible for all these. Myself, my position was patrol, anything traffic related, criminal related, anything like that. My experience from where I came from, that's what I would handle. What I'm looking for is I'm looking to get a 4th sergeant position approved and put that up to council. And what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to have 2 sergeants responsible for the same thing. So instead of, in the past, we had Sergeant Caspi responsible for just this list of items, I want 2 people responsible for those list of items. So that way, if someone were to fall ill, I have somebody else I can go to. If something were to happen, Jeremy spoke about this already, a public records request. If I have to wait until the next time Sergeant Clarich is working, which as of right now, his next work date is the 27th, I can't do anything until then. If I have 2 people responsible for the same job, he may not be here, but Sergeant Bittner would be here tomorrow. She can handle that. And then last but not least, if somebody decides they want to move on from the village and take a job somewhere else and leave, I already have somebody trained to do that job, and it doesn't leave us scrambling to cover that. Should that person leave, I still have one doing that job. That one can now train somebody else. We always have 2 people trained to do the job. And if somebody leaves, I'm not scrambling to make sure that we're doing everything we need to for the state, doing it properly for the state, i.e. leads, OLEG, which is all of our reporting system. Leads is everything we do as far as traffic, criminal, our MDTs, anything like that. So the promotion, these people on patrol have the responsibility of patrolling the village and dealing with the public. They don't have to worry about anything else. Sergeant Bittner, she's going to be, well, Officer Bittner, if she gets approved to be appointed to sergeant, she is going to take over TAC. She's going to take over OLEG. She's going to take over leads. And then Patrolman Mazzaro, should he get promoted, is also going to do that stuff with her. My fourth position, I have a guy in mind that I would like to hire and bring in. Again, if you guys approve, he's going to be in charge of training. He's going to be in charge of evidence, as well as Sergeant Clarich. And again, yeah, another example is we just got a court order to return property to a resident. The resident called, said, hey, the court order, I know it was sent over. I would like to get my property back. When can I get it back? I looked at the schedule and, well, the property guy comes in 3 weeks. That's unacceptable. So having somebody else in place kind of provides a better service to the community.
So how many sergeants then will we have altogether?
Currently, we have 3 sergeants in the department.
All right, so I'm naive about this. I don't pretend to know your business. So if there's 3 sergeants, I just know a little bit. Like if there was a catastrophe, who holds rank then at a position? I mean, you know what I mean? Like there was a big catastrophe, somebody, they have to all respond, like what happens then? Who's rank? Who's authority?
That would be determined by me. And as an example, should they both get promoted, Sergeant Bittner will hold the lead. Sergeant Mazzaro would be the second, and that would be told to them by me. And then if there's any question in that, then I would take the lead over both.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. I just didn't realize we could have that many sergeants because I was looking at an ordinance from 2018, the old ordinance book, and I don't know if things have changed. I just saw, of course, of course, first chief, then sergeant, then lieutenant, then corporal. I didn't see that we needed 3 sergeants. I'm not telling you, I just don't know. I'm fuzzy on why we need that many of the same rank. Or is it just because that's what we were doing before?
I guess the best way to answer that question is, I think that if we have them at the same rank, we can achieve what we need to do. If we start looking at somebody outranking somebody else, we now look at paying, number one, the first level is got to be paid more than a patrolman.
Right.
The second level's got to be paid more than the first level. Third level would have to be paid more than the second level.
Right.
To get away from having to worry about extra cost to the village, we put them both as sergeants, and their supervisor would be myself. If there's a question of authority or anything like that, if there's any issues, I can tell you that dealing with both of these people, as well as the person I'm looking to bring in, I'm not going to have that issue. Basically because I won't let it happen. And they'll be well aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing you got to look at, and this is something I explained to Mr. Mayor earlier today, was if we were a full-time department where all the employees in the police department were full-time, then somebody's here 5 days a week in every single position. So if somebody takes a vacation, we have somebody here. We don't have that here right now. So I have 1 of 2 options I have to look at. I have to look at having a sergeant do his ancillary duties while he's working a shift, which means I'm only paying 1 guy to be here. Or I have to pay a patrolman to work the shift and then pay the sergeant to come in, and now we're paying 2 people at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you promote the sergeants, there are a lot of extra duties they have to do, and that's where the rank comes in. And they are also responsible for phone calls. If somebody has an issue, somebody makes a traffic stop, it's a DUI and they have a question. Sergeant Clarich is the DUI guy. He's the one that's on the call list. So even when they're not working, they're on call. And the benefit of being a sergeant I mean, it's $1 an hour more,
Mhm.
but it is something more. And then you do have the accolades that being able to tell other people, yeah, I'm a sergeant. So it's kind of like a benefit to them to have that.
Okay, so, all right, so it's interim police, interim to me, I think of, you're taking over for trying until we get to get a final police chosen. Will you be here more or less than Tryon was?
I will be taking over the same thing Chief Tryon did. He worked every Friday.
Mhm.
3 of those Fridays were covered under his pay. The 4th one, he would put in for his hours for that day.
Okay.
My intention is not to put in for those hours for that day.
Mhm.
I'm going to be here every Friday unless something comes up and I got to change it to a Tuesday. My plan is to be in here and pull in a shift once a week. Outside of that, I have an issue sleeping in. Personally, I have an issue sleeping in. So I'm up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and everybody in the house is sleeping. I go downstairs, I pull my computer up, I start doing work. Lately, in the past couple of weeks, a lot of that work has been all Village of Timberlake work. Stuff we have to do, stuff I want to learn, stuff I want to know. I don't know how many people are aware, but I live 1 street from the village. The only way I can get closer is if I moved into the village. I have a wife, I have 2 kids, you saw them earlier, I have a dog. When we decide to take the dog for a walk, being that I'm working in the village, I choose to take my dog for a walk in the village. So I'm out and about. As time goes on, people are going to see a lot of me. You will see more of me than you saw of Chief Tryon. And the reason for that is Chief Tryon, with his business that he's building with his wife that's taken off, has taken so much of his time, which is another reason he resigned or retired, excuse me. He just didn't have that time. I do have another business on the side. I teach nationally, but that takes me away very little. Outside of that, I'm always home. So I do pop in here quite a bit. I come in and see what reports are in, people working. They don't know when I'm coming in, so they know at any point the chief may just pop in here, which in a roundabout way keeps them on track. You guys will have access to me. You guys will see me more. Vince Cronin brought up earlier today, he goes, I don't know if you know this, but we have 2 bicycles in the police department. And my response to him was, who do you think put air in the tires? Who do you think found out that one of the bikes, the inner tubes are bad? Well aware of the bikes, plan on being on them. I actually took 1 bike out already. I got yelled at by my wife because she said that I need to have a helmet on when I'm on the bike. She's right. I got a helmet for Christmas. That's a long answer to your question, but the short of it is you will see a lot more of it.
That's been one of the complaints from our residents is that there is no relationship, that there's no.
There's already a relationship that's been started. I've talked to several residents already. One of them, don't even know where she lives, but it's Miss Donna. That was her name, and I followed her all around the village at 10 o'clock at night until she finally pulled into the front of the village and waved me up and said, are you enjoying following me?
You know what, Chief, can I interrupt for a second? I'm
Sure.
sorry. I don't want to be rude or anything, but this isn't interrogation time. Ms. Mara, with all due respect, if you have questions of the chief, I think you should do that on time that's
Well, I
not.
think it was an interrogation. It's the first time I've ever met him.
You know what?
You voted.
It's the first time I ever met him, that's all.
But
My
again,
apologies.
and again, take this up on time that's not council meeting. Again, you voted for him last month to be approved as the interim chief. So
Well, I know, but if people don't watch the Zoom
this is
meeting
another
tonight,
time
they're
so
not
we
gonna
can
know
move
much more
forward,
about him.
at least get Ms. Bittner sworn in so she doesn't have to sit there for the rest of the night.
Are you getting sworn in tonight?
Yeah.
No,
No, we just approved them. They're not here tonight.
no, I didn't have them come tonight. You guys are just voting on whether or not to approve them, and then.
Okay,
can
last
swear
I
them in.
talked to Ms. Bittner, she was going to be there tonight.
Yeah, that was change 52. So we'll cover that at a later date.
Okay, well, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, let's move on then. So A motion to approve Sarah Bittner and Jason Mazzaro to the position of Detective Sergeant. Do I have a motion to approve, please?
No.
I make the motion.
Second.
Great, Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Ms. Saba,
Aye.
Ms. Sharma,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma.
Aye.
Mayor, would you be able to send me a copy of just Sarah Bittner and Jason's name so I can make sure it's correctly spelled in the minutes?
Yes, I will.
And would you also be able to send me a copy of your mayor's report from the beginning of the meeting if you have one? If you don't, it's no problem.
Okay, yes, I will. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, this is the public portion. Since we don't have
still
anyone.
We still have to make the motion to pass Mazzaro. I thought we just did Bittner, or we
did
do,
both. I thought we did both together, but
but do we do both together? Okay, I'm sorry.
we were both together. So since there's no public here, does anyone have anything to add or any other questions or concerns?
I
One
just
quick thing, we're doing work session at what time before the council meeting next time?
How much time do you think we need?
I think we need a lot of time. I think we should have a separate work session, not just before the council meeting. We still have to deal with whether or not we're gonna have a full-time chief or a part-time chief moving forward, because we right now have an interim chief. We have to deal with whether or not we're gonna give our police department a raise. We have to deal with our budget with that. We have to deal with our budget with many other things. So as far as wages go, I think we need to talk about a lot, which should have been done already, but I don't think we can do it before the council meeting. I don't think an hour before the council meeting is going to get all these things resolved.
I agree. Should
I
we,
do too.
if we choose another day, doesn't have to be a Tuesday.
For me, it does.
So how about a Tuesday before our meeting?
The 9th,
Yeah, it
Oh.
works. Yeah, sounds good.
Why can't we break it up? Maybe do an executive session before next week's council meeting. We talk about the wages, and then the following month, we'll talk about, next month, and then the following month, we'll talk about the chief position and so forth, and the wages and the details on that.
Well, because
So we
Mayor, with
don't-
all due respect, we've brought this up in December. I sent out the spreadsheets to everybody and gave everybody the blank spreadsheets so they can work their own numbers out. I don't think we should make these officers wait if they're going to get a raise. You want to talk about it in February, and then maybe we can vote on it in March, and then maybe it'll get postponed till April. And
Oh, no, I'm talking,
we're already a third of the way to the year. We need to get this addressed and taken care of.
no, we could set the police department and, the pay and all that. But then again, as far as the chief, when we decide whether we go with a full or part-time, if we go with a part-time, then we don't have to change anything. But if we go with a full-time, then of course we can amend then the pay scale, the ordinance.
There'd be a lot of things we have to amend if we go with a full-time chief, a whole lot of things, not just pay scale. But yes, we have to decide moving forward as a council together what we want.
So what you're saying, we should do something before our next council meeting on another day?
Well, unless we want to have another 2-hour council meeting, I think we should have a work session so we can have the issues addressed before the council meeting.
Like a Monday night before?
Right. I think
No.
we have to do it on a Tuesday for Joanne.
And whatever we decide, I just can't, I don't think we can do this in an executive session 1 hour before a council meeting. I don't think we can
No.
address all these issues.
Joanne, when are you available?
I'm fine with, like Vince, when you said February 9th, we can start it at 6:30 if you want.
I'm
Okay.
100% okay with that.
All right, so February 9th at 6:30 is your special work session.
Yep.
Is everyone in agreement?
Yes.
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 All right, not hearing any no's, so we're gonna go ahead and move on.
Real quick, Joanne, when you do the notice for that one and the agenda and everything for that work session, throw an executive session in there because some of this we can probably discuss in executive session.
I can do that. Yep. We'll make it the whole way. Yeah.
In terms of the public portion, since I'm the only public member that's here, I just wanted to make a note that the lakecounty.ohio.gov website has updates on individuals that can go and get vaccinated against COVID virus. And a lot of people that are currently eligible are greater than 65, which is the primary population of our village. So I highly recommend that they go on the website and pre-apply, which is where they can sign up to be in a queue for the vaccine.
Okay, thank you. And also, I'd like to also add that on our website, on the front page, homepage, there's a reverse 911 sign up. So anyone who wants to sign up for that, go to the webpage. The forms are there. They can follow that for the reverse 911. Explains, there's the video explains everything about it. So just want to open that up, make sure all the residents know about that. And does anyone have anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay, well then, our next council meeting will be on February 16th at 7:30 PM. And do I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I make a motion.
I second.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Cronin,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara,
Aye.
Ms. Sharma,
Aye.
Dr. Sharma.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.